A young waitress was hiding something behind the dumpster of a small roadside diner. Her hands were shaking. Her eyes kept darting toward the door. Every time a customer walked in, her heart would skip a beat. What was she hiding? A small, shivering puppy. A puppy covered in bruises. But this wasn't just any puppy. And the man who was about to walk through that door? He wasn't just any customer. He was someone who had seen violence in the darkest corners of the world. Someone who had sworn an oath to protect the innocent. Someone who would not walk away. Before we begin, tell us where you are watching from. And if you love animals and stories of courage, please hit that subscribe button. You won't believe what happens next. The town of Maplewood was the kind of place you'd drive through without even noticing. One main street, a gas station that closed at 6 in the evening, a tiny post office that smelled like old paper and dust, and Ruby's Diner, a small restaurant with faded red booths, cracked vinyl seats, and a jukebox that hadn't worked in 10 years. The neon sign out front flickered on and off, spelling out Ruby's in pink and blue letters that had seen better days. This was the heart of Maplewood, the place where everyone knew everyone, where secrets were hard to keep and gossip spread faster than wildfire. Ruby's Diner was run by a woman named Clara Hutchins. Clara was in her 60s, with gray hair always tied in a tight bun, and a voice like gravel from too many years of smoking cigarettes behind the kitchen. She wasn't mean, but she wasn't warm either. She ran her diner like a drill sergeant. Everything had to be clean. Everything had to be perfect. And if you worked for her, you followed her rules. No exceptions. No excuses. Clara had owned the diner for 30 years. She had seen workers come and go. She had seen the town change, slowly shrinking as young people moved away to the cities. But the diner remained. It was a constant, a landmark, a place where truckers stopped for coffee and locals gathered for breakfast on Sunday mornings. Working at the diner was a young woman named Emma Cole. Emma was 23 years old. She had soft brown eyes that always seemed a little sad, freckles scattered across her nose and cheeks, and a smile that could light up a room when she actually used it. But lately, Emma hadn't been smiling much. She moved through her shifts like a ghost, quiet and efficient, always keeping her head down. Emma had moved to Maplewood 6 months ago. She had arrived with nothing but a backpack, $50 in cash, and a desperate need to disappear. She was running from a bad situation, a dangerous situation. She didn't talk about her past. When customers asked where she was from, she'd give them a vague answer and change the subject. She kept her head down, did her work, and tried to stay invisible. That was the plan. Stay invisible. Stay safe. Don't draw attention. But Emma had a big heart. It was the kind of heart that couldn't ignore suffering. The kind of heart that felt other people's pain like it was her own. And that big heart was about to get her into trouble. It was a cold Tuesday morning in early November. The kind of morning where your breath came out in white clouds, and the sky was the color of concrete. A light drizzle was falling. Not quite rain, but enough to make everything damp and miserable. Emma arrived at the diner early, like she always did. She liked the quiet before the morning rush, the peaceful stillness before Clara arrived and started barking orders. She liked being alone with her thoughts, with a cup of coffee and the sound of rain tapping against the windows. As she walked toward the back entrance, fumbling with her keys, she heard a sound, a whimper, soft and scared. Emma froze. She listened. The rain pattered on the pavement. A car drove by on the main street. And there it was again, a soft, scared whimper coming from behind the dumpster. She walked slowly toward the sound. Her heart was pounding. Her mind was racing. What if it was a raccoon? What if it was something dangerous? But something in her gut told her this was different. This was a cry for help. And then she saw it. A puppy. A tiny golden retriever puppy, no more than a few months old. It was shivering violently. Its fur was wet and matted with dirt and something darker. Blood, maybe. And all over its little body were bruises. Dark, ugly bruises on its legs, its ribs, its face. One of its eyes was swollen almost shut. Someone had hurt this puppy. Badly. Deliberately. This wasn't an accident. Emma's eyes filled with tears. She felt a wave of anger, so strong it made her dizzy. What kind of monster would do this to a helpless animal? She knelt down slowly, not wanting to scare the little creature. "Hey, baby," she whispered, her voice breaking. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. I promise." The puppy looked up at her with big, sad eyes. Eyes that had seen cruelty. Eyes that had given up hope. It was terrified, but it was also desperate. Slowly, carefully, it crawled toward her. Its little body was shaking so hard Emma could hear its teeth chattering. Emma scooped the puppy into her arms. It was so small, so fragile. She could feel its little heart racing like a drum. She could feel every rib through its thin fur. "Who did this to you?" she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The puppy just buried its face in her jacket, seeking warmth, seeking safety. She knew she had to help. There was no question in her mind. But there was a problem. A big problem. Clara, our boss, had one very strict rule: no animals. Ever. Clara hated animals. She said they were dirty, noisy, and unprofessional. If Clara found out Emma had brought a puppy into the diner, she'd be fired on the spot. No warning. No second chance. And Emma couldn't afford to lose this job. She had no money saved. No family to turn to. No backup plan. This job was all she had. It was the thin thread keeping her from being homeless, from being back on the streets, from being found by the people she was running from. But she couldn't just leave the puppy outside. It was freezing. It was hurt. It would die out here. She looked down at the tiny creature in her arms, and she made a decision. A dangerous decision. She was going to hide the puppy. Emma snuck the puppy inside through the back door, looking over her shoulder every few seconds. Her hands were shaking. Her heart was pounding so hard she thought it might burst. She found an old cardboard box in the storage closet, the kind that had once held cans of tomato sauce. She lined it with clean dish towels, the soft white ones they used for drying glasses. She placed the puppy gently inside. The puppy curled up into a tiny ball, still shivering, still scared. "I'll be back," Emma whispered. "I promise. You're safe now." She hid the box in the very back of the storage closet, behind bags of flour, cans of tomato sauce, and boxes of napkins. She covered it with an old apron, so no one would see it. Then she took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and got to work. All morning, Emma was on edge. Every time Clara walked past the storage closet, Emma's heart stopped. Every time she heard a sound from the back, a tiny whimper or the rustle of the cardboard box, she'd panic. She'd cough loudly or drop something to cover the noise. She was a nervous wreck. During her break, she snuck back to the closet. She brought the puppy some warm milk in a small bowl and a piece of plain chicken she'd taken from the kitchen. The puppy ate hungrily. Its tail wagged just a little bit. Just a tiny, hopeful wag. Emma felt a spark of hope. Maybe he was going to be okay. Maybe she could save him. "You're going to be okay," she whispered, gently stroking his soft fur. "I'm going to find you help. I promise." But help wasn't easy to find in Maplewood. The nearest animal shelter was 50 miles away, and Emma didn't have a car. She tried calling them during her break, but they said they were full. They couldn't take any more animals for at least 2 weeks. And even if they did, the shelter would ask questions. They'd want to know who hurt the puppy. They'd want to file a report. And Emma was terrified that whoever did this might come looking for it. What if it was someone local? What if it was someone dangerous? What if helping this puppy put her in danger? But every time she looked into those sad little eyes, she knew she couldn't give up. So she kept hiding, kept sneaking food, kept hoping that somehow, someway, everything would work out. 3 days passed. 3 long, stressful days. The puppy was getting stronger. Its bruises were still there, dark purple and yellow marks that made Emma's stomach turn. But it was eating. It was drinking. It was starting to trust Emma. Every time she came back to the closet, the puppy's tail would wag. It would lick her hand. It would nuzzle against her. And Emma, she was falling in love. She had started calling him Lucky. Because despite everything, despite the cruelty he'd suffered, he was lucky. Lucky that she had found him. Lucky that he had survived. But she knew she couldn't keep this up forever. Clara was starting to get suspicious. She kept asking Emma why she was spending so much time in the storage closet. Just organizing. Emma would say with a nervous smile, "You know how messy it gets back there." Clara would narrow her eyes, but she'd let it go. For now. Then, on Friday afternoon, everything changed. A man walked into the diner. He wasn't a regular. Emma had never seen him before. He was tall, maybe 6'2", in his late 30s, with short dark hair that was graying slightly at the temples, and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore a simple black jacket, jeans that had seen some wear, and sturdy boots. He moved with a kind of quiet confidence that made people notice him. There was something about the way he carried himself, something controlled, something powerful, like a coiled spring ready to snap. He sat down at the counter, away from the other customers. Emma walked over with a menu and a smile. "Welcome to Ruby's. What can I get you?" The man looked up at her. His gaze was intense, but not unkind. It was the kind of gaze that read people, that noticed things. "Coffee. Black. And a burger. No onions. Extra pickles." "Coming right up," Emma said, jotting down the order. As she walked away, she felt his eyes on her. Not in a creepy way. Not like some of the truckers who came through and stared a little too long. More like he was studying her. Like he could see things other people couldn't. Like he knew she was hiding something. Emma brushed it off. She had enough to worry about. She poured his coffee, delivered it with a polite smile, and went back to her other tables. But then, as she was refilling his coffee a few minutes later, the man spoke. "You seem nervous." Emma's hand froze. The coffee pot hovered over his cup. "I'm fine," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just a busy day." "You keep looking toward the back," the man said calmly, taking a sip of his coffee. "Like you're worried about something. Or someone." Emma felt her cheeks flush. "Just making sure everything's running smoothly. You know how it is." The man didn't push. He just nodded slowly. But Emma had a feeling. A strange, unsettling feeling. This man wasn't just a customer passing through. He was someone who noticed things. Someone who paid attention. Someone who read people like books. And that made him dangerous. She hurried away, her heart racing. Later that afternoon, Emma was carrying a tray of dirty dishes toward the kitchen. She wasn't paying attention. She was tired. She was stressed. And she was worried about Lucky. She hadn't checked on him in over an hour. What if he was hungry? What if he was scared? What if Clara had found him? And then it happened. She tripped. Her foot caught on the leg of a chair that was sticking out too far. The tray went flying. Dishes crashed to the floor with a sound like an explosion. Ceramic plates shattered. Glasses broke. Coffee and ketchup splattered everywhere. And in all the chaos, Emma didn't realize that the door to the storage closet had swung open. The puppy, curious and brave for the first time in days, poked its little head out of the box. And the man at the counter saw it. Emma's heart stopped. Time seemed to slow down. She saw the man's eyes shift. Saw him focus on the closet. Saw him stand up slowly. The man stood up from his stool and walked toward the storage closet. Emma wanted to run, wanted to stop him, wanted to grab Lucky and hide him. But her legs wouldn't move. She was frozen. He knelt down in front of the closet. He looked at the puppy. And then he reached out his hand. Slowly, carefully. The puppy, instead of hiding, instead of cowering, walked right up to him. It sniffed his hand. And then, for the first time in days, it wagged its tail. Not a scared wag. Not a hesitant wag. A happy wag. The man gently picked up the puppy. He cradled it in his arms, like it was made of glass. He examined it carefully, his eyes scanning every inch of the small body. His jaw tightened when he saw the bruises. His eyes went cold. Hard. Dangerous. "Who did this?" he asked quietly. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath. Emma swallowed hard. I don't know. I found him behind the dumpster 3 days ago. The man looked up at her. His eyes were hard, cold, but not angry at her. Angry at whoever had done this. Why didn't you call someone? Animal control? The police? I was scared, Emma whispered. I didn't know what to do. The shelter is full. And I thought whoever did this might come looking for him. I didn't want to put him in more danger. The man stood up, still holding the puppy. Lucky was licking his hand now, completely relaxed. This isn't just rough play, the man said, his voice low and controlled. These are deliberate injuries. Someone beat this animal. Systematically. Someone wanted to hurt him. Emma's eyes filled with tears. I know. I've been trying to take care of him. But I don't have money for a vet. And my boss, if she finds out I brought an animal in here, she'll fire me. I can't lose this job. I have nowhere else to go. The man looked at her for a long moment, and then his expression softened just a little. Your boss doesn't matter, he said firmly. This puppy needs help. Now. And you did the right thing. You saved his life. Emma felt tears roll down her cheeks. Who are you? She asked. The man hesitated. Then he said, My name is Jack Donovan. I'm a Navy SEAL. I'm home on leave. Emma's eyes widened. A Navy SEAL. That explained everything. The way he carried himself. The intensity in his eyes. The calm, controlled way he spoke. I've seen injuries like this before, Jack continued, his voice quiet. Not on animals. On people. On victims of torture. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't even anger. Someone enjoyed doing this. And if they did it once, they'll do it again. People like that don't stop. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. You think they're looking for him? Maybe, Jack said. Which is why we need to move fast. We need to get this puppy to a vet. We need to document these injuries. And we need to find out who did this. At that exact moment, the front door of the diner swung open. The bell above the door jingled. A man walked in. He was big, over 6 feet tall, and at least 250 pounds. Mean-looking. He had a scar across his left cheek and tattoos covering both arms. His eyes were small and cruel. His mouth was twisted into a permanent sneer. He wore a dirty tank top and jeans with oil stains. His boots were caked with mud. His eyes scanned the diner, looking for something, and then they landed on Jack, on the puppy in Jack's arms. The man's face twisted into a sneer. That's my dog. Emma's blood ran cold. Jack didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just stared at the man. His eyes were calm, but there was something in them. Something dangerous. Funny, Jack said quietly. Doesn't seem to recognize you. The man stepped forward. His heavy boots thudded on the floor. I said that's my dog. Hand him over. Now. Jack's voice was calm. Deadly calm. No. The diner went silent. Every customer, every worker, stopped what they were doing. Forks froze halfway to mouths. Conversations died mid-sentence. The tension in the air was thick. You could feel it. Heavy and suffocating. The man took another step forward. His fists clenched. You don't know who you're messing with, boy. Jack didn't blink. I know exactly who I'm messing with. A coward who beats defenseless animals. The man's face turned red. A vein bulged in his forehead. You calling me a coward? I'm not calling you anything, Jack said evenly. I'm stating a fact. The man lunged. He came at Jack fast, fist raised. But Jack was faster. In one smooth motion, so fast it was almost a blur, Jack handed the puppy to Emma. He sidestepped the man's punch, grabbed his arm, and with a swift, practiced move, he twisted the man's arm behind his back and slammed him face first onto the counter. It happened in less than 3 seconds. The man groaned in pain. His face was pressed against the counter. Jack's knee was in his back. His arm was twisted at an angle that looked painful. Jack's voice was low and dangerous. Right in the man's ear. You ever touch this dog again, You'll answer to me. Understood? The man didn't answer. He was breathing hard, trying to tough it out. Jack twisted the arm a little more, just enough to make the point. I said understood? Yes, the man gasped. Yes. Okay. Jack held him there for another moment, making sure the message was received. Then he released him. The man stumbled backward, clutching his arm, his face twisted in fury and humiliation. This isn't over, he spat, backing toward the door. You have no idea who you just messed with. Jack just stared at him. His expression didn't change. Yeah, it is. And if you come near this dog, or this woman, or this diner again, I'll make sure the police know exactly what you did. And trust me, they'll be very interested. The man's eyes darted around the diner. Everyone was watching. Everyone was a witness. His tough guy act was crumbling. He pointed a shaking finger at Jack. You're dead. You hear me? Dead. And then he left. The door slammed behind him. The diner erupted in whispers. Emma was shaking. She looked down at Lucky in her arms. And then she looked at Jack. Thank you, she whispered. Her voice was trembling. Thank you so much. Jack gave her a small nod. His expression was calm again, like nothing had happened. That guy's not going to stop. Men like him don't. They're bullies. They feed on fear. And now he's embarrassed. That makes him dangerous. Emma's eyes widened. What do? We make sure this puppy is safe, Jack said, permanently. And we make sure that guy can't hurt anyone else. Over the next few hours, Jack made some calls. He contacted a friend who worked with a veteran-run animal rescue organization called Paws of Honor. They specialized in rescuing abused animals and pairing them with veterans who needed emotional support. They agreed to take Lucky, get him full medical care, and find him a loving home. But more importantly, Jack called the local police. He didn't call the station. He called a detective he knew personally. A good cop. Someone he trusted. He reported the man for animal cruelty. He described the injuries in detail. He gave them Emma's testimony. And because of the bruises, because of Jack's detailed report, because of his credibility as a Navy SEAL, the police opened an immediate investigation. Jack also did something else. Something Emma didn't know about. He used his connections. He made a call to a buddy who worked in law enforcement databases. Within an hour, he had a name. Derek Mullins. And he had a history. Derek Mullins had been arrested twice before for assault. Once for bar fight. Once for domestic violence. The charges had been dropped both times. Witnesses had refused to testify. They'd been scared. Intimidated. Derek was known in the area as a bad guy. Someone people avoided. Someone people feared. 2 days later, Derek Mullins was arrested. The police showed up at his house with a warrant. They found evidence. Lots of evidence. They found a metal chain in his garage with blood and fur on it. They found photos on his phone. Photos of Lucky. Photos of other animals. Animals that had been hurt. Animals that had disappeared. It turned out Derek had been doing this for years. Hurting animals. Getting rid of them. The puppy's case was the final piece of evidence the police needed. And because Jack had documented everything, because Emma had been brave enough to come forward, because the injuries were so severe, the district attorney filed felony charges. Animal cruelty. Multiple counts. Derek was looking at serious prison time. Emma was relieved. She cried when she handed Lucky over to the rescue team. A kind woman named Sarah, who worked with Paws of Honor, took him gently into her arms. We'll take good care of him, Sarah promised. He's going to get the best medical treatment, and we'll find him a home where he'll be loved and safe forever. Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. Please tell whoever adopts him that he's special, that he's a survivor, that he's the bravest little dog I've ever met. Sarah smiled. We will. I promise. Jack stayed in town for a few more days. He checked in on Emma, made sure she was okay, made sure Derek didn't come back, made sure she felt safe. And before he left, he did something Emma would never forget. He gave her an envelope. It was a plain white envelope sealed. "What's this?" Emma asked. "Open it when I leave," Jack said. Emma looked at him, confused. "Why?" "Just trust me," Jack said with a small smile. They said their goodbyes. Emma thanked him again. She told him he was a hero. Jack just shook his head. "You're the hero, Emma. You saved that dog. You put yourself at risk. You did the right thing when it was hard. That's what heroes do." And then he left. Emma watched his truck drive away. Then she opened the envelope. Inside was $2,000 in cash. And a note. The note said, "For vet bills. For emergencies. For whatever you need. You did the right thing. Don't ever stop being brave. You're stronger than you know. And you deserve a life where you don't have to hide. If you ever need help, call me." And at the bottom was his phone number. Emma cried. She had never met anyone like Jack before. Someone who didn't just walk past a problem. Someone who stepped in. Someone who cared. Someone who saw her, really saw her, and didn't judge her for running, for hiding, for being scared. She folded the note carefully and kept it in her pocket. It became her reminder, her little piece of courage that she could carry with her every single day. 6 months later, Emma got a letter in the mail. It was from Paws of Honor. Inside was a photo. The puppy, now fully grown, was happy, healthy, and living with a loving family. A military family. A Marine Corps veteran named Marcus and his 2 kids, a boy and a girl, who adored him. Lucky was running in a big green yard, his tail wagging like crazy. His bruises were gone. His eyes were bright and full of life. He was wearing a blue collar with a tag that glinted in the sunlight. Emma smiled through her tears. She read the letter that came with the photo. It was from Marcus. "Dear Emma," it said, "I wanted to thank you for saving Hero." That's what we call him now. Hero. Because that's what he is. And that's what you are. My kids love him. He sleeps in their room every night. He goes on hikes with us. He's helped me with my PTSD more than any medication ever did. He's part of our family. And it's all because you didn't walk away. You didn't ignore him. You saved him. Thank you for giving us this gift. Thank you for being brave. Semper Fi, Marcus. At the bottom of the photo, in a child's handwriting, someone had written, "His name is Hero, because that's what he taught us to be." Emma pinned the photo on her refrigerator. Every morning when she woke up, she looked at it, and it reminded her of something important, that even when you're scared, even when you feel small and powerless, you can still make a difference. You can still be brave. You can still be a hero. The town of Maplewood went back to normal. The diner stayed busy. Clara never found out about the puppy, and Emma kept her job. But something had changed inside Emma. She wasn't invisible anymore. She wasn't running anymore. She had found her strength. And it all started with one simple decision. The decision to help a helpless creature when no one else would. The decision to do the right thing, even when it was scary, even when it was hard, even when it put her own safety at risk. A few months after that, Emma made another decision. She decided to stop running. She went to the police in her hometown. She told them about the man she'd been running from, the man who had hurt her, the man who had threatened her. And with Jack's encouragement, with the courage she'd found inside herself, she testified. She stood up in court and told her story. And the man was convicted. He went to prison. And Emma, she was finally free. She stayed in Maplewood. She kept working at the diner. But now she was saving money. She was taking online classes. She was building a life. A real life. Not a life spent hiding and looking over her shoulder. A life spent moving forward. 1 year after the incident, Jack came back to Maplewood. He stopped by the diner. Emma was behind the counter, pouring coffee and laughing with a customer. When she saw him, her face lit up. "Jack," she said, running around the counter to give him a hug. "You're back. Just passing through, Jack said with a smile. Wanted to check on you. See how you're doing. I'm good, Emma said. And she meant it. Really good. They sat and talked for over an hour. Emma told him about testifying, about the man going to prison, about her online classes, about her plans for the future. Jack listened, a proud smile on his face. I'm proud of you, Emma, he said. You did it. You fought back. You didn't let fear win. I learned from the best, Emma said. Before Jack left, he gave her one more thing. A small card. On it was printed, Paws of Honor, Volunteer Coordinator, Emma Cole. Emma looked at him, confused. What's this? Sarah, the woman from the rescue organization, called me, Jack said. She said they're expanding, opening a new branch. They need someone to coordinate volunteers, someone who understands what it means to save a life, someone with a big heart. I told her I knew the perfect person. Emma's eyes filled with tears. Jack, I don't know what to say. Say yes, Jack said with a smile. Say you'll take the job. Say you'll keep saving lives. Because that's what you do, Emma. That's who you are. And she did. Emma took the job. She moved to a small apartment near the rescue center. She spent her days coordinating volunteers, organizing fundraisers, and helping to rescue abused and neglected animals. She found her purpose. She found her calling. And she found herself. Because sometimes, one moment of courage can change everything. One decision to do the right thing, even when it's hard, can set off a chain reaction. It can save a life. It can inspire others. It can change the world. Emma learned that the hard way. And she never forgot it. Every day, when she walked into the rescue center, she'd see a plaque on the wall. It had a photo of Lucky, now Hero, running in that green yard, and underneath it a quote. Heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear aprons. Sometimes they wear uniforms. And sometimes, they're just people like you and me who choose to do the right thing. If this story touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Hit that subscribe button for more stories of courage, kindness, and hope. And tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you found that puppy? Would you have been brave enough to risk your job? Brave enough to stand up to a bully? Brave enough to do the right thing? Remember, heroes don't always wear capes. Sometimes they wear aprons. Sometimes they wear uniforms. And sometimes, they're just people like you and me who choose to do the right thing. Write amen in the comments if you believe kindness can change the world. Thank you for watching. Stay brave, stay kind, and never stop protecting those who can't protect themselves. God bless each and every one of you.